who is in Parliament for the very first time. She's actually done some of us very proud. What we don't know is she's actually been given an opportunity to present even in international fora with even former President of Liberia, Helen Sharif Johnson, in a panel where I was supposed to be. I stepped down for her. And she's done us very proud. And I want to say that she's doing very, very well. Mr. Speaker, you are asking where I was, and my apologies have come late as a co-sponsor. She's a primary sponsor of this bill. Mr. Speaker, as you do realize, yesterday we are here with the fisheries bill until very, very late.
Yes, you're right.
And I was moving very many amendments, and my brother is here.
Yeah.
I think he has a bit more stamina than me.
Very
I'm more
right.
of a night owl, so that is my apologies. That's the reason I come.
Okay.
But I just want to say, Mr. Speaker, that what I've actually shown here proves this bill, as Umi says correctly, is not a disability bill. It's a mainstreaming bill. It's an empowerment. All of us here speak Swahili and we speak English. We must also speak sign language. I am in the process of learning, and what I just did, which they didn't understand, was to say hello, how are you, thank you. That's the farthest I can go right now. I can't go beyond that. But all of us, disability bill. I'll finish, Mr. Speaker, by giving an example that one time I was invited by persons with hearing disability to train them on advocacy for legislation when they were coming up with the bill for persons with disability. And because I didn't understand issues of disability then, I decided to go a day in earlier to understand it. And when I went in, I asked for documents, and I was given Braille, because I didn't have any other document. And I understood what it meant to be disabled. Because in my ability, I was actually the disabled one, because I couldn't read Braille. And it just occurred to me how unfair we are to persons who are differently abled. And it behoves us, as members of Parliament, to ensure we mainstream sign language from childhood to university, so that it's not just people who are not, who are struggling with the disability that have. I thank you, Honorable Anthony, and my good friend, Honorable Keitany, for...
To do many other things. The person who is hard of hearing is deaf just looks at other people and says, so what are they saying? But if we introduce programs where we can have closed captioning for the deaf people in sign language, then actually they become part of family. And I think that's a very important thing, Honorable Chair. Chair, I would like to say this in support of what Honorable Millie Mabona has said. We owe it to certain individuals in this country, especially the development of what we call the Kenyan Sign Language. You know, there's a gentleman I met when I was still at university called Okach, and he left this country, went to South Africa, because Kenya at that time never had this kind of development. But he worked so hard to introduce Kenya's, you know, there's sign language and there's Kenya Sign Language. And Okach did a lot of the work. And when he left it to a gentleman called Dr. Jeffwa Mweri, who is at the University of Nairobi, and they set up that center. And I want to really congratulate them for that job. Today, I think this is the happiest moment. If Okach is watching from South Africa and Dr. Jeffwa Mweri from the University of Nairobi is watching, and the people that work together, and the many young people have put their minds and thoughts and energy to develop Kenyan Sign Language, I think this is a proud moment for them. And we have a duty as Parliament to recognize them and to support them and to ensure we birth a bill on the Kenya Sign Language. Therefore, I want to support the clauses, and also want to congratulate the young lady, Omulher, for the efforts in putting this bill together. And actually, I can see she's struggling, but she's learning, and she's learning very fast. So let's move on. Let's get a bill on the Kenya Sign Language. And today, tomorrow the president assents it, and we move on as a country. And this is a milestone in the development of languages in this country.
Justice Kemei wants also to weigh in on this. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for the opportunity you've given me. First and foremost, Honorable Chair, I want to appreciate the great role the Honorable, I wish to welcome students from my constituency, from Koitaba Road Comprehensive School. Honorable Speaker, I was in that area yesterday doing public participation as is required of the Constitution. Koita Broad Comprehensive School is a school which is among the top performers in that area of my constituency. They know the names I'll mention. Yesterday, I was in Kapchebwai, I was in Cheptililik, I was also in Chiramor, I was in Kamasega doing public participation. And Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that this is a learning process for them. Let them learn. One day, one time, they'll also be members.
And I'll put the question, honorable members, that the new clause 8A be now read a second time. Will everyone appear and say aye? Will everyone contribute and say nay? The ayes have it. I now propose the question that clause 8A, new clause 8A be part of the bill. I now put the question that new clause 8A be part of the bill. As many have to appear and say aye. As many as members, I propose the question that the new clause 8B be now read a second time. Yes. You just after the member of parliament behind you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I rise to actually support this particular amendment in support of telecommunication service providers. Honorable Chair, like has been said by many of my colleagues who've spoken before me, I think this is a very progressive bill, and I have lived through the times that the people who are living with special needs, those ones who cannot hear and those ones who cannot see. I must admit here, Honorable Speaker, that I was part who was blind. And that particular member, Honorable Speaker, did not get a braille machine until we left the County Assembly of Nandi. Honorable Speaker, it always reminds me how careless we have been in regards to looking at the issues that are affecting people or persons living with disability. We have been so insensitive that we have had to act. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, I also went to a function that had a sign language interpreter. So the sign language interpreter was seated down where everyone could be able to see them. But Honorable Chair, the most interesting part was we could only see that person when seated here, but the person sitting behind who was supposed to see it from the screen, it was not cast on the screen. And I think this is very progressive, Honorable Chair, that it will require everyone to be able to do this in terms of telecommunication. That if there is a projector, that person should be able to appear right there. And I do support this particular amendment, Honorable Speaker, Chair, so that we can be able to pay attention to the persons living with differently.
The Deputy Majority Leader.
Probably I need to get some clarification because you are making law for posterity, Winnie, Millie, and Umi. I look at 8B, Honorable Chair, 8B, telecommunication service providers shall make their services accessible to the deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind community through establishment and provision of relay services, including text relay, video relay, that is on telecommunication, captioned telephone relay, and communication facilitators for the deaf, hard of hearing. Now, I want to understand deaf-blind community through establishment and provision, and this is telecommunication, meaning telephony. So I would be interested to understand this more so that we know how practical is it within the current Kenyan context of telephony and telecommunication.
Can you enrich on that? Can you explain? And I must admit that we're all lost on this.
Thank you, Chair. And if you look at the current telco providers that we have in the country, it includes Safaricom, Airtel, and Telecom services. Most of the time, they offer discounted prices to the people who use telephone communication, so those are the hearing community. But what happens with the deaf community is that they use video conferencing, especially on their mobile phones. This particular clause will force these telco providers to not just provide discounted services, but also allow them to use their video telephone conferencing at a cheaper price, because what happens is that anytime a deaf person goes on a video call with another deaf person, immediately their data or their their mobile subscription depletes. This is because they are not in the provisions of these particular providers, or when these services were being offered, they were not considered. So this particular clause will be going directly to these telco providers, and I think the Communication Authority will be mandated to review their policy on this. Thank you.
For the interest of the chair, it says deaf-blind. Deaf-blind basically means somebody who is deaf and at the same time blind. How does this telecommunication technology support somebody who is deaf-blind to communicate?
Invest in providing that technology.
To allow somebody who's deaf-blind to communicate.
Yes, because the idea is to make it easy.
Excellent.
I was actually asking one of my friends that the sister lives in a different state. They live in the US. She faced grace. And she says because in the US, the gadgets are provided, so she can call us. So why can't we provide that so that we enable them to communicate the way those other people do? And I think that's what we put here. Yes.
Madam
Yes.
Beatrice? Maybe after Beatrice, allow Beatrice to weigh in and then you have an opportunity. Majority Leader, just allow Beatrice and then you'll have a shot at it. Yeah.
Honorable Chair,
You'll have a bite at it. Yeah.
I want to support this telecommunication service to be provided. And for the deaf, the blind, and even this one, participation on appeal on environment. And the greatest complaint that we had is that they cannot read the bill, those who are blind, because they don't see, and there's no service that is providing them to have the bill, the braillers are not there, and all that. So if they are to have the bills and anything else that goes with it, especially in public participation, it will be very easy and for us, Honorable Chair. And then, and as I say this, Honorable Chair, we are mourning one of the greatest PWD, a blind man called Raymond Chiruyot, who was very, very instrumental in matters concerning constitution, matters concerning the church and all that. So as this one comes forth, let's remember people who are able differently so that they can also feel part of Kenya in the best way possible. And finally, I want to join my colleague in welcoming the students and the pupils of Koitaburot Community Comprehensive School, which is a school in Soy. It's a place where sugarcane is grown, and these students, I want to tell them that you can make it in this parliament. They have been seeing Honorable Chair, the likes of Millie Odhiambo, but now they have on TV, but today they have seen her, the same with Cynthia, and even the Deputy Majority, even yourself, they have been saying that we see them on TV, so today they have seen you, and I wish them well. And I pray that next time they will be in this parliament as woman rep, as MP, and all that. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable members, do you wish to weigh on this before I put the question?
I'd like to say something on
Yes.
this. You know, we are making law for posterity,
Yes.
Honorable Chair, and it's very important that we choose words very
Yes.
well. And the reason why we come to this, and I think this one of 8B, we need to be careful what we do. You see, 8A, I have no issues with it. 8A, because 8A is about television, media, and all that, okay? And it is easier to achieve and very practical. And actually, this country already is there. When you watch news, there are functions, we see that. But when you come to 8B, and I want us to be very careful, we are saying telecommunication service providers. Telecommunication, this is telephone, this is Airtel, this is Safaricom, this is Telcom, okay? We are telling them, shall, and I want you to mark the word shall, make their services accessible. Accessible, the word accessible, to the deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind community through establishment and provision of relay services, including text relay, video relay. But you see, if you look at the use of the word shall, already when we pass this law, telecommunication services will be bound to provide that, which I have no problem with. But are we providing a transitional clause so that if our buyer today wants to apply for a license to provide telephony services, can I be denied that license on the basis of I am not able to do it based on available technology, the availability of technology at this moment? My suggestion is that we reward this clause and that a further amendment be made on this clause so that we do not pass a binding, and Millie, you're aware